Hello everybody, welcome to this Your Overseas Home webinar. Today we will be covering everything that you need to know about visas and healthcare before you make your move to Italy. My name's Hannah Armstrong. I'm one of the team here at Your Overseas Home. Some of you may have already come across us as a business, but for those of you who haven't, just to let you know that we have been assisting our buyers with their property purchases for over 10 years now. What we do is we aim to provide you with all the useful resources that you'll need and connect you with some of the industry's leading experts who are there to offer you advice, help you avoid the pitfalls, save money, and crucially, make this really exciting step in your life as enjoyable and fun as possible for you. Now, we've been hearing on the news, certainly here in the UK this week, that the COVID situation is improving and travel restrictions are going to be started to lift. So we're hearing from our customers through our conversations and our surveys and things like that, that we do expect to see a surge in demand for property this summer. So it's great that you're here with us now, starting to make your plans and get your buying underway. Now, today I'm joined by two of those industry experts I mentioned. First up, you're going to hear from Monica of Buckles Solicitors. Now, Monica is trained in Italy. She's qualified as an Italian lawyer, but now based here in the UK. So she's really well placed to offer you insight into the Italian market, but also, fluent in English and understands the British market. So she'll be able to support you with your visa requirements. After we've heard from Monica, we will hear from Jeremy Wolf of MedAssurance. Jeremy's worked in the field of health insurance for a number of years. He's got a fantastic array of contacts and lots of experience with the European market. So he'll be able to make sure you understand all of the policy and documentation you'll need to have in place before you do relocate to Italy. Throughout today's webinar session, we want to answer as many of your burning questions and queries as we can. If you are joining us live today, you're able to submit a question via the questions tab on the right-hand side of your screen. Just type it in there. All those questions are anonymous and we'll get as many of those answered for you as possible. We'll take about 45 to 50 minutes for today's session. I won't take up any more of that time now. So first off, I'm going to hand it over to Monica to take us through her presentation. Over to you, Monica.
Thank you, Anna. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Anna, for inviting me this morning, and thank you all for joining us today. Today I will be providing an excursus of the new rules for British citizens going to Italy. We will cover the Brexit-related changes, the 90-day rule, the visa process and the required paperwork, and finish with some useful links to facilitate the application process. So, as a result of Brexit, British citizens who were resident in Italy prior to 31st December 2020 are eligible to legally remain in Italy. However, they need to legalize their position by obtaining a so-called attestazione di iscrizione anagrafica. This is a certificate issued by the local town hall, which certifies that you have been legally resident within the territory at the local town hall. The attestazione di iscrizione anagrafica is propedeutic to obtaining la carta di soggiorno, which enables you to stay for a period of 5 or 10 years within the Italian territory. Again, this only refers to British citizens already resident in Italy prior to the cut-off date. La carta di soggiorno is renewable, provided the required boxes can be ticked. Generally speaking, the requirements are residency within the territory prior to 31st December 2020, sufficient income for yourself and family members, an accommodation, and the lack of criminal records. For British citizens who were no resident prior to 31st December 2020, the 90-day rule is the deciding deciding requirement factor regarding if and what paperwork is required. As the UK is in place in Annex 2 of the EU Regulation 2018, if you are going to Italy for less, if you as a British citizen, you are going to Italy for less than 90 days, no visa is required. You will only need your travel document, valid for at least 3 months from the day you enter the country. On the other hand, should you wish to remain in Italy for longer than 90 days, within a 180-day period, you will need to apply for a visto d'ingresso, it's called visa in English, to enter the territory, and within 8 days of entering Italy, you have to apply for a permesso di soggiorno to legally reside within the territory. So the application of the permesso di soggiorno is made at the local questura, it's the police station of the area where you will be resident. The two mentioned documents, so il visto e il permesso di soggiorno, are equivalent to the entry and the resident permit, and they can be applied for under a multitude of purposes, such as work, holidays, living in Italy, etc. So how do you apply? The application, sorry, here it is. The applications are made by a portal, a link on which will be provided at the end of this presentation. Once you complete your application form, you have to provide and upload the right documentation, and then you will need to book an appointment at the Italian consulate in London if you are resident in England or Wales, or Edinburgh if you're resident in the other jurisdictions, for example, Northern Ireland and Scotland. During the appointment, your fingerprints will be taken, and you will need to provide your application form, passport, supporting documents. Depending on the visa, there are different supporting documents to provide. The application usually cannot, the right time frame to apply for a visa before entering, before departing would be between 3 months and 2 weeks before departing, basically. One of the links on the final slide enable you to enter your requirements, time period, any additional information of relevance, and it provides you with the to-do list and the required documents. So this is the typical application form that you will see within by using the link that I will provide you. It's not very clear here slide, and I apologize for that. So I will be happy to provide it by email directly to you if you require it. This application form is fairly straightforward, and it can be found by using the final links here in this slide. So the first link is basically is the Farnesina link. This is an official link. If you basically insert all your information or where you come from, for how long are you going to reside in Italy, it will tell you whether you need or you do not need a visa and which kind of documents you need to gather before applying for your visa. The second link here is the link to the actual link to apply for visa. So it gives you the access to the portal whereby you can make your online application, upload all the documents, and book an appointment at the Italian consulate, your local Italian consulate. So hopefully these links will make the process much smoother for you. Thank you for your time, and I'm open to questions if you have any.
Thank you so much, Monica. That's really helpful. And just to confirm for the listeners today, we will be able to send out these links that Monica's helpfully provided for us. We'll send those out via an email as well. So don't worry if you're not able to access those now. We'll get those to you via email. So Monica, I want to start with some of the real sort of commonly asked questions that I know that you get asked and we get asked as well. First question is, if in the instance that a customer was a British citizen but currently resident in Italy, how easy is it for their family to join them? Is that possible?
It is possible. There are only certain family members that can join the British citizen regularly resident in Italy. These categories of family members are the spouse, the minor children, the children which are financially dependent from the person legally resident in Italy, as well as the parents and also the grandparents which are financially dependent from the person legally resident in Italy. If your family members are not EU national, as I said, they will need a visa. There is a specific visa for this kind of reasons to enter Italy. It's called the visa for family member reconciliation. In Italian, visto per il ricongiungimento familiare. The visa is issued by the Italian embassy or the consulate where the non-EU citizen is a resident. So this type of visa is important to understand that it's only issued after there has been a nulla osta, so a permission from the immigration office, Sportello Unico dell'Immigrazione, of the competent Italian questura. The application for the nulla osta must be made by the person regularly resident in Italy via a portal. Again, I will provide you the link if you require it. And the portal is the official one from Ministero dell'Interno. There are two phases before the Immigration Office issues the nulla osta. There is the verification of the residence permit held by the applicant. So the applicant must be in possession of permesso di soggiorno valid for at least 1 year before applying. Plus, the applicant must have, which is the person legally resident in Italy, must provide evidence of an adequate wage and accommodation. B is there is a verification of the relationship with the family member who wants to reconcile with the person regularly resident in Italy. Upon obtaining the nulla osta, the Immigration Office will liaise with the Italian consulate, and the person, the family member, will have to go in person to the Italian consulate, and at that point, the Italian consulate will issue the visa for the family member. Upon entering the territory, the family member must register at the town hall and obtain the residence permit to legally stay within the territory. So this registration must occur within 8 days from entering the Italian territory. So there are two steps basically. Nulla osta and issue of the visa to enter the country. After the family member enters, he must register with the local town hall to be legally resident in Italy from that point on. Usually, the duration of the family member, the visa for family member reconciliation is up to 1 year. It can be renewed.
That's great. Thank you so much for clarifying, because I think there's a few people that that are in that situation that wanted some clarity. So thank you. Now another question is it easier for customers who have a European passport, so French, Spanish, for example, they have a European passport? Is it easier for them to secure residency in Italy than it would be for our UK-based customers?
Basically, yes, because if you have a new passport, you can easily travel within Europe without any kind of visa or any kind of restrictions. Of course, whereas if you have a British passport, as I mentioned before, England is the United Kingdom is within the list of Annex 2 of the European Regulation 2018. So if the British citizen wants to move to Italy for less than 90 days, then there will not have any problem entering the country if they are planning to stay up to 3 months within a period, 180-day period. However, if they stay longer, of course, they have to apply for a visa, and they will need to provide the reasons for staying for how long. So the process is much more complicated for a British citizen or a no-EU citizen than for EU citizens that are free to move around the EU countries without any limitation.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you for clarifying that. Now, another question that I know we often get asked, is there a difference in the process to obtain a visa if the customer is purchasing a holiday home rather than wanting to actually relocate permanently?
So if, for example, if a British citizen has an holiday home in Italy, yeah, sometimes people say, is there a different process I have to follow if I have a second home in Italy? Depends on what you are going to Italy for. So if you are going on holidays, you as a British citizen, you do not need a visa if you stay for less than 90 days. However, I do not think that there is a visa for staying longer than 90 days for vacation purposes, as vacationing is not recognized as a legitimate reason for staying beyond the 90-day period. So depends, the answer to your question is depends on what you are going to do to Italy, the reason why you are going to Italy, regardless on whether you have or you have not a holiday home there. However, if the British citizen has a residence permit holder, isn't a residence permit holder, then it doesn't need to apply for a visa to re-enter the country, provided that the residence permit did not expire and that the requisite status are kept. So it can keep residing in Italy if the requirements are still there. So answer to your question is depend on the reasons why you are entering the country. And again, for how long. Every region has different supporting documents, and if you go for less than 90 days, of course you don't need a visa. If you are going to stay for more than 90 days, then you will need to apply for a visa, also specifying the reasons for which you are going to Italy.
Thank you. Now, in terms of those supporting documents that you mentioned, one thing that we know from some of our buyers purchasing in other countries is often talked about proving income or proving sort of wealth, amount of money in savings, things like that. Is there an amount of money that customers would need to prove, whether it be income or savings, in order to apply for an Italian visa?
Right. So is the limit? Sorry, my computer switched off at some point. So the limit you have to have an income which is higher than l'assegno sociale annuale. So there is a minimum annual wage that the government requires for you to obtain a residence permit, and that minimum wage increases if you have family members who want to join you. So it must be double or triple, and so on, depends on how many family members are going to join you, are going to reconciliate with you within the Italian territory.
Thank you. Now, we've had a specific question in from a customer, Floria. So this customer is South African with a South African citizenship, and their spouse has Italian citizenship. They wanted to understand what visa they would need to travel to Italy with their South African passport, and then what visa they would need for residency once they got there. Can you just give any information on the difference with the sort of travel versus the residency visas they would need?
The link that I provided in my last slide, basically, if you use the first one, Visto per l'Italia, that gives you access to all the options that, for example, if the South African citizen inserts that he is from South Africa, then he will also be required where he was a resident before going to Italy, and for how long he intends to stay in Italy. The website will provide all the information and supporting documents that you will need to provide. So as you can imagine, every nationality has and every region has different supporting documents, so it's not possible to cover each and every circumstance. So what I would suggest is that you use the first link that I provided, and you insert all your personal information. Of course, this link is just for the non-Italian citizen, and this link will provide you with the form that you need to fill in, together with the supporting documents required to obtain the visa, and the consulate where you need to apply. So all the information I provided by using this link, the first one, vistopertutti.esteri.it.
Thank you. Now, a customer has asked a question about what visa they would need. So they're planning to rent out properties when they're there. So it might be classed, they were wondering if it was classed as a business, and would they need a different visa if it was going to be classed as a business, or would it just be that they had the residency visas that we've talked about, and they would just be generating income from their property rentals?
If you need the visa, means that you need to state the reasons for going to Italy. So if you are going to work, you need the visa for work purposes. The rental income that they receive is irrelevant. I mean, it's relevant to keep residing in Italy. However, the reason for staying the reason of the visa is the main document that must be considered. So if the person who enters Italy as a visa to go to work, then that visa will be supported by a work contract, also nulla osta sometimes is required to enter Italy to work, the minimum wage that would be required to keep residing there. If the scope for your stay in Italy changes, then you will need to apply for a different visa. You can do it, you can swap it, and you can do it while you reside in Italy. You don't need to leave the country and then you re-enter with the new visa. You can simply make a new application for a residence permit where it's stated which states the reason for residing in Italy.
Thank you very much. I hope that helps the customer that asked that question. I've got time for one more question, Monica. Can you just clarify for us about the 90 days and how this works? So first off, is it 90 days in one visit? Can you split your 90 days into multiple visits? And is it a maximum of 90 days in a whole year? Can you just help clarify on that point for us?
So this is 90 days within 180-day period. What does it mean? If you go to Italy for 30 days, then you will leave the day after and go to another EU country without any problem. So why there is this 180-day rule? Because sometimes it is not possible to go to Italy, you stay until the 89th day, and then you leave, and then you come back again, restarting the clock, just because you left for one day. So the rule is clear, simply because there is 90 days within 180 days. So if you have to wait another 90 days before re-entering the territory and restart the clock. This is how it works. No problem.
Thank you. I hope that clarifies that question. Thank you so much, Monica, for answering those queries. If we've got time at the end, we might come back to you with a few more. There's a couple more sort of specific questions, but I would like to make sure that we have some time to talk about the healthcare arrangement. So I'm now going to hand over to Jeremy, and Jeremy's not got presentation slides. We're going to do a more sort of informal question and answer session here. So first off, to kick us off, Jeremy, I'd like you to just explain a little bit, if you can, just about your background, what MedAssurance does, how you can help our listeners today.
Sure. Thanks, Hannah. And thanks, Monica. I really appreciate it. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. I'm Jeremy from MedAssurance. And what I do is, it's quite simple. I just specialise in providing private medical insurance in the UK to companies and individuals. And I work a lot with individuals looking to move abroad. This webinar is all about Italy. So again, what I do is I ensure and I try to make sure that when you apply for your visas, you have the right documentation in place, and in particular to make sure you have your private medical insurance in place. Because one thing you must be aware of is that you cannot claim on the Italian healthcare system until you are a resident. It's very simple. So if you become ill or injured without a private medical insurance policy, you could have serious problems. So I go through a process, which is a quickish process, depending on the information you give me, to ensure that you have a policy in place that covers all eventualities. That gets put with your visa. Your visa gets applied for, and you've got peace of mind to move forward with the application.
Thank you, Jeremy. That's great. Now, in terms of actually starting the process with you, then, how early on would you recommend a customer started this? They're going to want to have their policy in place before they end up in Italian territory, to make sure they are covered in case something happens immediately. So how early on do they need to start this process? Does it take a long time? Can you sort of explain what customers need to do to kick this off with you?
All potential clients' needs are different. I've got some clients that are just reviewing a situation for 2-3 years down the road and just want to understand the cost of putting a policy in place. I have others, for example, one from last weekend that needed to apply for a visa this week and gave me the information literally the week beforehand. All I need is the client's details, dates of birth, and if possible, an address they're going to go to. But I don't need that either. I just need to know the country, and in this case, Italy. You're a resident of the UK or any other country, if that may be. Date of birth, name. I go away and I produce a number of options for you that will hopefully suit your needs. Once we've got that, we then take it to the next step and then start looking at the policy to make sure we have the benefits that you want or don't want. And then I can tailor make the policy around your needs. The other question you asked was, how long does it take? It actually doesn't take long at all. It can take probably from start to finish. I can put a policy in place within probably 5 to 6 days. That's quite quick. Or, as I said, if you're looking for 2 years down the road and you just might be looking for cost, that's absolutely fine. I can get it for you, and then we can discuss it again in 6 months' time. It just gives you an idea of what you're looking at. But I do stress, unless you're a resident in Italy, you are not subject to the healthcare system.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. And say a customer wanted to take a policy with you for a year, so it covered them for going on a viewing trip to view properties and, waiting for their various paperwork and visa application to come through. Is it possible that a customer could have a policy for, say, a year and then stop that policy and move on to the Italian, the Italian NHS equivalent, the state system in Italy? Would that be possible?
A lot of questions in that. Which is right. The answer. The quick answer is yes. You can take out, or when you take out a policy, whether it's a UK policy, an Italian policy, an international policy, all policies are based on a yearly contract. They can, if they haven't been used, be cancelled after a period of time. So if you're fortunate enough and you can get your residency quickly, you can cancel it within 6 months. So if you're going to just visit, you may not necessarily need an international policy or private medical insurance policy. A travel policy may suffice if you're just going for a very short period of time. If you're just going to have a look during your holiday and you're there for just maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a travel policy will be absolutely fine for that purpose. If you're going for a long period and you intend to stay for 3 months, that's different, because some travel policies will allow you 30 days, 45 days. Some will allow up to 180 days. Again, that will depend on the policy and the provider you use. If you're there for long term, I always suggest, again, peace of mind, have something in place in case you become ill or injured. Again, I just want to clarify something really quickly there. The difference between a travel policy and an international private medical insurance policy. If you take out a travel policy for a short period of time for your holiday, or you're just going abroad to have a look at property, if you become ill, injured, and you need treatment, you have to pay for it and you claim it back when you get back to your country of residence through the policy you've taken out. With a private medical insurance policy, if you become ill, we speak to the provider, we get the treatment authorized, you have the treatment, and then the hospital or the consultant sends the bills directly to the provider and they pay them. It's a big difference between the two, and sometimes there is confusion as to which policy we should use.
That's great. That's really helpful to know the difference in how that works. I've certainly learned something there, so thank you very much. Just thinking about that travel, the travel rather than the sort of permanent relocation that we talked about there. So say a customer is going for a couple of weeks on a viewing trip to look at property, just a holiday at this time. Are they still able to use the EHIC cards that we've had? I believe there's been some change with that, and I just wondered if they're still able to use those for short trips.
The EH1 expired in December 20, and if you've got one of those, you need to apply for the G, which is the global, what's it called? The global health treatment one, the EH, global health insurance card. That's it, global health insurance card, which replaces the EH. Now, if you haven't got that, you won't be able to use the National Health Service. As long as you have that card, it will allow you to use the local NHS service, but you must remember it's only for travel purposes, for a travel holiday in the event. It's not designed that if you are there, you suddenly become ill, injured, to be used as for private healthcare. It's not a private healthcare policy. It's designed for you. If you become unwell while you're away, you can use the local National Health Service. But you have to apply for the global one these days, because the E1 expired in December 20.
Thank you very much. That's really helpful. Thank you. Now, in terms of actually the application process with you, so a customer comes to you, gives you all of those details you need. How many different insurance providers would you go and get quotes from on behalf of the client?
Initially, I would probably go to 2, maybe 3, but only because the only reason I'd only go to a couple is to give everybody an indication of costs. Invariably, you can go to 5, 6, 10 different companies, and the premiums, the costs will be very, very similar across all of them. However, it's the additional benefits that the providers will offer. So I always try and make life as simple as possible. Say, okay, here's 2 providers. Here are the difference in costs. Whether you're treated in hospital X, the treatment's going to be exactly the same. Whether it's the consultant Y that treats you, the treatment's going to be the same, irrespective of the policy you have, and the room you have will still be the same. It's only the benefits, the additional little bits, the add-ons that certain providers give you. But I always try and find the easiest policies to use to give just a pure indication of cost to start with.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much, Jeremy. And just one sort of last quick question on that, with those providers. Do you have a recommended or a preferred provider that you normally use, or does it all depend on a customer's requirements?
It can depend on the country. It can depend on. Initially, it's not the customer's requirements. Initially, it's what I will look at, having first spoken to the client and to understand what their demands and needs are. What are they looking for? Are they looking for something basic or comprehensive? Again, depend on the country. Some countries only require a very basic policy to go with a visa. Others require absolutely everything, a fully loaded policy. So once I understand what the client needs, so for example, in Italy, you can't have access until you become a resident. So I like to make sure you have everything required to give you, as I said before, for the sake of repeating myself, that peace of mind when you apply. So if you turn up, you are fully covered. So I tend to I try and keep it as simple as possible when speaking to the client what they need. What is important to understand, though, is that when you apply for a policy, there's a different types of underwriting which is required. And by that I mean is when you apply for a policy, you may be asked a series of questions. Invariably, that's called full medical underwriting, which is, or FMU for short, which some people use. And what happens there is that the provider will say, look, here's a list of 21 questions. You need to answer them. If you say, yes, I've had an ear infection or a gallbladder infection, or I've got aches and pains in my back. If you say yes to those questions, the provider may, not saying will, may choose to exclude those conditions from the policy. Now, once you become a resident, you'll be able to get covered on the local national health system. But through your private medical insurance policy, you will, or you may not be covered.
That's very helpful. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Now, well, I said it was the last question, but actually one has just come in. Customer Kevin, who's listening in today, has asked, is it essential to have the insurance policy in place before applying for the visa? Do you have to prove your policy before you apply for your visa?
Hi, Kevin. From what I understand, yes, because it goes with the application. That they will ask, are you covered? Because what they don't want is, it's going to sound a nasty way of putting it, they don't want you to be a burden on the state. As simple as that. So it goes with the application. They know you're going to have a policy in place. If you're applying for a visa, say in 3 months' time, and you can show that your policy starts in 3 months' time, it doesn't have to start today. It can start whenever you want it to, but you just need to show that you have something in place. So the answer is yes, you do.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jeremy. That's great. I hope that's answered your question for you there, Kevin. Now, I think that sort of rounds up most of the questions that have come in from the customers today. There have been a few questions that have come in with very specific requirements, whether it's a health query or whether it's a visa query that is quite specific. I think it's probably not the right forum to discuss those detailed queries here. So what we'll do is I will make sure that everybody on Monday has all of the contact information for Jeremy and for Monica and their teams to be able to answer your really detailed questions. So thank you to you both for sharing your insight and answering the queries today. We're going to pop a link up on the screen in the next few seconds. That link will go through to the Your Overseas Home website. On that website, you'll be able to watch a recording of this session if you want a refresher to share that with your family or friends or anything. And also on the website there, you'll see all of the past sessions we've done, if there's anything useful, and the registration details for any future sessions. We've got a few sessions over the coming weeks, some that focus on the buying process, so making sure you're budgeting and sorting out your currency, and useful links to estate agents and lawyers and things that can help you with the buying process, and also some sessions on the financial position when you move overseas, again addressing currency and also looking at your tax position and things like that for when you relocate. So do head over to our website and have a look at those. As I mentioned, we'll be in touch next week to give you all of the information that you need and the contact details and those links that Monica had to help you progress your journey. So I'll wrap up there and just say thank you all for joining us. Those of you particularly who joined live, thank you so much for giving your Saturday morning today. And really importantly, thank you to Monica, thank you to Jeremy for the fantastic information. Thank you. All the information they shared was brilliant. So thank you all. I'll sign off for now. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.